"Uncle, I know how to make your daughter walk." Again, the dark-skinned beggar boy said. To the businessman, Ricardo. Almeida had walked down that alley 100 times, but never like this. Never with a pair of tiny wheels squeaking next to his polished shoes. Never with a silence so heavy it was almost suffocating. His daughter, Sophia, 8, sat quietly in her wheelchair, her little legs motionless, wrapped in a blue crochet blanket. Her blonde hair fell over her cheeks, her eyes lowered to the ground, as if she had given up hoping for miracles. Ricardo hadn't given up. Not really. But hope had become a cruel word in his world. Ever since the accident 2 years ago, every doctor, therapist, and even miracle worker had taken his money and left him with the same answer: permanent spinal cord damage. She may live a long life, they said gently, but she'll never walk again. His money could move mountains, but it couldn't restore nerves. That's when he heard the voice. "Mr. Ricardo," the boy said from the corner of the alley, "I know how to make your daughter walk again." Ricardo still had one hand on the handle of Sophia's wheelchair. He turned slowly, expecting to see a cheater, or worse. But what he saw instead was a barefoot child. The boy couldn't have been older than Sophia. He was skinny, barefoot, wrapped in a coat that was too big for him. His hands were dirty with dirt and one eye looked slightly black, but his voice was firm. "What did you say?" Ricardo wanted to know. "I said I can help your daughter," the boy repeated. Ricardo frowned. "Is this some kind of game? Who sent you?" "No one." The boy said, "My name is João. I live behind the train station. I saw you pushing her here yesterday. Waited today because I knew you would come." Ricardo closed his eyes. "Were you watching us?" "Yes, but not in a weird way. I see a lot of people passing by," but she looked sad, as if she used to run but her legs had forgotten. Sophia's head turned a little. That was more than anyone had said about her since last week. "I've taken her to the best hospitals in the world," Ricardo said, his voice firm. "Neurologists, surgeons, even holistic quacks, who claim to move energy with their fingers. There's nothing you can do, but the Lord didn't take her to my grandmother. João said she helped me when no one else would. I'm 8, I'll be 9 months old next month." Ricardo almost laughed. Wow. Took a step closer. "She doesn't charge money, just trust, and she never asks you to believe, just to try." Sophia looked at her father. "Please, we can go." Ricardo hesitated. The words "no" and "no way" were going around in his head. But so was her little voice, the way it had cracked weeks ago, as she whispered, hating to be like this. He knelt down beside her. "If anything seems wrong, we'll leave. Okay." She nodded. John smiled, turned and walked away. They followed. The path behind the city was unknown. Tangled weeds, rusty fences, graffiti on broken brick walls. Sophia flinched every time the chair hit. Ricardo almost turned back twice, but João looked over his shoulder, reassuring him with a calm. "Beyond his years, we're here." They arrived at the edge of a trail in the forest. It didn't seem to lead anywhere. "This way," John said. Ricardo sighed. "Do you know that if anything happens to your daughter, she will be okay?" John said. It will be more than fine. At the end of the trail was a small cabin built of weathered wood and moss. It seemed like a fairy tale. An old woman came out onto the porch. Her hair was long and silver, braided with bits of shell and thread. The eyes were green, piercing, and ageless. I was wondering when you were going to bring them, she said to John. John nodded. He didn't believe it, but she did. Sophia smiled slightly. The old woman knelt in front of her. Can I touch your knees, girl? Sophia looked at her father, who hesitated, then nodded. The old woman placed her light hands on Sophia's legs. Her eyes closed, vibrated, and she began to sing hello. Soft, low sound, like wind in the trees. Sophia cringed. I felt it, he whispered. Ricardo took a step forward. What did you feel? A tingling in the toes. The old woman opened her. The marrow is not dead, just frozen, trapped in pain. The body obeys the heart more than the brain. This is not medical science. Ricardo grumbled. No. The old woman said, but science can't hold back your daughter's tears all night long. Silence. John took a step forward. She may try to stand. The old woman looked at Sophia, only if she wants to. Sophia nodded. The old woman pushed the wheelchair away and helped the girl to her feet. Sophia's legs trembled. Ricardo took a panicked step, but the old woman held up a hand. The right foot moved, then the left. She stood, staggering like a deer, but she stood. Ricardo fell to his knees. Sophia. Sophia turned to him, smiling through her tears. Dad, I'm... Ricardo couldn't breathe. He crawled to her feet and held her tightly, afraid she would fall, or worse, disappear. John stood aside, quiet. Ricardo turned to him, stunned. Who are you? John shrugged. Just a boy who believed that someone could be whole again. Ricardo put his hand in his pocket. I'll pay whatever it is. Name your price. John shook his head. I don't need money. I just needed someone to listen. As the sun appeared between the clouds, Sophia took 3 steps towards her father and the world she thought she had lost. Sophia took another shaky step forward. Ricardo watched in a daze, his hands half raised, not knowing whether to take it or let it go. She was indeed shaking, and tears were rolling freely down her cheeks, but there was no denying the fact. She was walking, took a second step, then a third, then fell. Ricardo threw himself at her, gently catching her before she hit the ground. I got you, he whispered, his voice breaking. I got you. Sophia clung to him, sobbing. I felt my legs, Dad. I really felt them. Did you, my love? He felt it, yes. The old lady stood silently behind them, hands clasped in front. As anyone who has seen this many times can tell, there was no showing off, no applause, just peace. João crouched down nearby, not smiling, not celebrating, just watching. Ricardo turned to him again, this time kneeling on the floor. I need to know, he said. How did you know? How did you do it? João looked at the dirt floor. I didn't do it, I just remembered. Remembered what? From my grandmother. Wasn't a doctor, but she knew people. The way they breathe as they break. Said, not all pain is in the bones. Some lives in silence. hides where X-rays can't see. Ricardo stared, moved beyond words. Stirred. I was walking funny. My foot was clubbed from birth. The children laughed. My mother left when I was 4. That was all I had. One day, she just said it was time. He put his hand on my foot, whispered things in a language I didn't know and told me to stand. I stayed. I never fell again. Sophia winked at him. Did she cure you? Reminded me that I wasn't broken. John replied. Ricardo nodded slowly. Where is she now? John's eyes lowered. It was a year ago. I tried to go to the system, but I ran away. They said she was a fake, that I was making it all up. So I started helping people on my own. Only those who asked, those who truly believed. He wiped his nose with his sleeve. Sometimes I fail, but sometimes I don't. Ricardo stood up and faced the old lady. Who are you? She smiled. Just someone who listens. John does the rest. But that's something else. It is the part of humanity that most have forgotten, that healing does not always require pills, nor wires, nor surgeries. Sometimes you just need presence. Ricardo looked at Sophia. She was now standing again, holding onto the back of the wheelchair, testing her balance. His fingers were shaking, but his eyes were shining with something fierce. Hope. I want to take you with us, Ricardo said to. Wow. We have doctors, specialists, therapists. I can give you structure, a future. But João shook his head slightly. My place is here on the street, in the forgotten corners. That's where the pain lives. That's where people like me are needed. Ricardo hesitated. What if I want to help you? Have you helped? You heard, most people don't. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a card. It was crumpled and damp from the rain, but legible. If you need me, Ricardo said, for anything, food, shelter, education, call this number. My assistant is available day or night. John took the card, studied it for a moment, then folded it carefully and tucked it into the inner lining of his coat. Sophia turned to him. I'll see you again. John smiled. If you forget how to believe, I'll probably be around. He smiled widely, limped forward and hugged him. It was the first time someone had hugged him in over a year. He closed his eyes and hugged her back. Week later, Sophia stood in front of the school, a crowd of students watching in awe as she walked across the stage. Still slowly, still carefully, but alone, without a wheelchair, without orthotics. Reporters asked what the turning point was. Sophia simply smiled and said, a boy who believed that I could. That same morning, in an alley 3 neighborhoods away, João sat with a young girl who had lost her voice after a trauma. He didn't ask her story, he didn't offer her food, he simply sat next to her and hummed the same melody his grandmother used to sing. Because healing doesn't always start with medicine. Sometimes it starts with someone who refuses to let go. And so we come to the end of this story. Thank you so much to you who took the time to follow this journey of hope and belief.